Okay, before I start this video, I would just like to get all of my art supplies out of the way. So I am using Sharpie markers, big pens, big markers, and Georgia Pacific cardstock. Also, I usually do my anxiety-related videos separate from my art videos. But if it's not really obvious, I'm not the most comfortable in front of a camera. If that's not like glaringly obvious from all my other videos, then I'm telling you I am not really comfortable in front of it. So I thought I'd try doing like an anxiety/art video mashup type of thing. I mean, I'm kind of still like trying to figure out what I want to do with my channel, so I think I'm going to try this out and see how that goes. Lastly, this video is late because my sister came up from the city and she stayed until Tuesday, and this is a secret channel, so I could not record until Wednesday. And then I posted that video, that was my art video, and then I usually do 2 videos a week. I usually do my anxiety related videos on Wednesdays and my art related videos on Mondays. So I posted the art one on Wednesday, so I'm going to post this one on a Thursday. But I'll be back on the regular schedule next week. Okay, so I will be doing an anxiety Q&A, and I just went to some random website and found like frequently asked questions. So I figured I'll just use those questions and answer them. So the first question is, when did you first notice you had social anxiety? Now, I've known this. I mean, I didn't know what it was called, obviously, because I was a child, so I didn't know what the name of it was, but I knew I had anxiety, like, pretty much as long as I can remember. I can't really remember a time when, like, I didn't have anxiety. Even times, like, before I can remember, I hear stories from my mother and, like, my aunts and uncles and stuff like that about how just, like, I wouldn't speak to people. You know, I was always, like, by myself. I was always playing by myself, you know. I was usually alone, and the adults that I wasn't comfortable with would always be like, you know, why is she so quiet? Why doesn't she talk to us? You know, can she talk? Because I was like old enough to be able to like say some words, I guess, maybe like 2 or 3 around then, but I wouldn't talk to them. I would just talk to my parents and my family members. So the second question is, how do you cope with your social anxiety? Now, when I'm at work, so I have 2 different ways. When I'm at work, I work retail. I work as a cashier. So my anxiety like manifests itself in like I clean, like excessively clean when I'm at work. And working in retail, there's always something to clean, obviously. Like there's never a time when there's nothing to clean. So like I'm always cleaning when I'm at work. And that's kind of like, I guess that's how like I burn off my anxiety feeling. I don't know. I mean, I'm still anxious, but like it helps cope with it. You know, like when there's nothing going on or when I don't have any customers, I'm like sweeping or I'm wiping down the counter, I'm dusting, fixing up the displays, like I'm always doing something. And it's so funny because all my coworkers are like, oh wow, your house must be so clean. I mean, my house isn't dirty, but like I don't like excessively clean at home. I just do it at work because that's how I cope with my anxiety. Now at home, I usually like, the way I cope with it is I read a lot, like more than I mean, you really can't read too much, I guess, but I kind of read a lot. Like there's not a time where I'm not currently reading a book. And usually when I'm currently reading a book, I'm thinking about the next book I want to read. Like I read a lot. So that's kind of how I cope with it. And that, and I, obviously my art is also how I cope with it, you know, because when you're drawing or painting, you know, your mind is usually like blank or focused on it, you know. There's not much else you can focus on when you're drawing and painting except what you're drawing and painting and, you know, what you're going to do, how you're going to place this, like that. Now, the third question is, what is your biggest struggle with social anxiety? And I have to say mine is kind of letting it win. That's my biggest struggle because a lot of the times I'll like I won't do something because I know it will interfere with my social anxiety. Like someone will invite me somewhere and I'm like, oh no, I'm busy, or no, I can't do that, I can't go. Or I'll just flat out tell them, you know, my anxiety is not going to let me do that. So I guess that's kind of like my biggest struggle with it, is trying to not let it win, you know, trying to overcome it, to not let it control every aspect of my life. The next question is, how do you bring up your social anxiety with a doctor? Now, the first time I brought it up, it wasn't actually me. You know, I told my, this was I was in high school, and after high school, I told my mother, that I needed to tell someone. I told my mother about it, and she's actually the one that told my current doctor at the time. So that was like one way to get out of it. I had someone else do it for me. And when I first moved up here, I obviously had to get a new doctor when I moved, because I moved further upstate than where I used to live. So now I live upstate. So when I first moved, I got a new doctor, and the easiest way for me was, she started asking about like the history, my family history, anything we struggle with, anything like that. So I told her about the anxiety and depression that runs in my family, and that kind of segued into her asking me, does any of it affect me? Do I have any of it? So I kind of like led her into it, I guess. Sorry about those jingles my cats are playing in the background. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened. I didn't really like flat out tell her anything. I kind of like segued her into it. Well, she kind of asked me actually, but that's how I got it to happen. The next question is, do you take medication for your social anxiety? I used to. I took Zoloft for 2.5 months, and it did more for my depression than it did for my anxiety, and the side effects were just too much for me to continue taking it. Plus, I didn't feel like I wanted to rely on a medication for the rest of my life in order to live my life, so I decided not to take it. I actually have a whole other separate video talking about my experience with Zoloft, and I will link that. Now, the last question I have is, have you gotten better with dealing with your social anxiety? Personally, I believe that I did. I think that I've gotten like loads better dealing with it. One of the ways that I think that really helped was I moved out of my sister's house, because when I first moved further upstate, I moved in with my sister. And I feel like living alone kind of forces me to do more things than I would normally have to do. Like I don't have anyone to rely on that's just like always going to be there. I have to do things for my own. So I feel like moving out really helped me move forward with, not relying on people. And that is everything I have to say. That's all the questions I wrote down. So that's everything. We'll see how this new format goes. I think I'm digging it. I kind of like not being on camera, but we'll see.